said. You lift my heart up when the rest of me is down. You enchant me even when you're not around. If there are boundaries, I will try to knock them down. I'm latching on, babe. Now I know what I have found. I feel it close enough. Could I lock in your love? I feel it close enough. Could I lock in your love? Now I've got you with my space. I won't let go of you. Got you shackled in my embrace. I'm latching on to you. I'm so encaptured, got me wrapped up in your touch. Feel so enamored, hold me tight within your clutch. How do you do it? You got me losing every breath. What did you give me to make my heart beat out my chest? I feel it close enough. Could I lock in your love? I feel it close enough. Could I lock in your love? Now I've got you with my space. I won't let go of you. Got you shackled in my embrace. I'm latching on to you. Now I've got you with my space. I won't let go of you. Got you shackled in my embrace. I'm latching on to you. I'm latching on to you.
Hey, I know we love each other and we love everything else, but there's plenty of seating closer to the front. So come on in, and this is a powerful message you need to understand.
cell phones, make sure you turn them off or put them on silent. Parents, I'm talking about. I know the students would never do that. Right? Other housekeeping items. This every 15-minute program, day 2, is very emotional. We know that this is make-believe. It's a scenario. But all the feelings that you are and emotions that you feel will be real. Because of that fact, and we know this is a very impactful program, the Sacramento Law Enforcement Chaplaincy has chaplains available or school counselors that you can visit at any point during the program. If you need to walk out, just be respectful. If you need to talk to a teacher or somebody, make sure you just tap somebody on the shoulder, let them know that you need some assistance. All right? Don't be afraid to walk out because we don't know what your life history is. We don't know what you're going to experience during this program. Before we get going, just once again want to thank the school district for putting this program on, because we understand that we only have a very short period of time to reach a lot of people. This program costs the school and other agencies a lot of money, but it's all done for you. Your administration, your school district, everybody else loves you as students and as people. And we unfortunately see the aftermath of a moment in time that could be totally preventable. DUI crashes are not accidents. That person who decided to consume alcohol, get behind the wheel of a vehicle and drive, that's a purposeful event. That's not an accident. These programs are designed to prevent that from happening. And like I did yesterday, I want to thank Rhonda Kraft from the Office of Traffic Safety and Mark Talon, both directors. A lot of the funding comes from the Office of Traffic Safety to the Highway Patrol. That money is granted down from the federal government through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That's what we do to save lives. We take our jobs very seriously. We hope that you take this program seriously, be respectful of the guest speakers, and everything else about the program. Thank you, and we'll get started.
Show me how you do that trick, the one that makes me scream. He said, the one that makes me laugh. He said, and threw his arms around my neck. Show me how you do it, and I promise that I'll run away with you. I'll run away with you.
Anyways, you want to help me make cupcakes for my mom's birthday tomorrow?
Oh yeah, of course. I hope she likes these cupcakes.
Get better. Do you have a speaker?
Yeah, let's get some slaps on the bake. Ooh, look who just texted you. It's Caleb.
What do you say?
I don't know. It's a whole bunch of nonsense. He must be drunk.
Hey, oh, sorry. You look sad. Drink some of this. It'll make you feel better. Yeah, drink some. Come on. Drink some. No, drink more. You'll feel better. Here, come on, let's go.
Oh shoot, we're late, Allie. Allie, we gotta go. We're late.
What the hell? What are you doing?
I fell asleep. Oh, I don't feel good.
Come on, we're gonna be late to school.
Oh, okay.
Hurry. Do you have your stuff?
So what do you think about that midterm we took yesterday?
I thought it was going to be harder, but I actually did pretty good. How about you?
I think I did good. I'm getting ready for that AP test.
You're taking it?
Yeah.
Me too. I'm kind of stressed about it.
Caleb, wake up.
What's your emergency?
There's been a bad accident. Oh my god, it's pretty bad.
Where exactly is the accident?
It's at the high school. Get here fast.
What high school? I need to know more. Can you tell me a little bit more about where you are?
Sumnis Oaks High School. It's in the parking lot.
Is everyone okay? Are there injuries? Is everybody okay? Are they walking
There's
around?
lots of blood. I don't think they're okay. Allie isn't moving. I don't know what to do. Allie, move!
Okay, ma'am. We have paramedics and police on the way. Stay on the line with me, okay? I'm gonna make sure that you are okay.
Okay, please hurry. My friends are really hurt.
You only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. and you let her go. You let her go. Staring at the bottom of your glass, hoping one day you'll make a dream last. But dreams come slow and you go so fast. You see her when you close your eyes. Maybe one day you'll understand why everything you touch, it surely dies. But you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. But you let her go. You let it go. 'Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. You only know you're high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. But you let her go.
You know, I usually don't, after the video, I usually don't say too much, but we need to give up a round of applause to the students and staff at Cosumnes Soaks for putting that together. Many of the programs that we do hire outside professional agencies to put that video together at the fee of about $3,500 to $4,000. So that's right on par with anything that I've seen out there. So that's very, very outstanding work from you guys. As we transition to the next phase, many agencies are involved or get involved in some way after a DUI collision which kills someone. And one of the agencies that was formed right here in Sacramento approximately 30 years ago is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You know, most foundations are formed because there's a need and a causal factor and someone that takes charge to make that happen. MAD is one of those agencies, founded right here in Sacramento. Become a national agency in support of families who have suffered a tragedy due to an unfortunate incident from one of their loved ones. MAD has provided us a speaker today because what happens, we always see the family members of someone that died in a crash come up here and speak at most assemblies that we have. But what about the other side? What about the driver? What do they go through? What is their emotional? Who are these people? They're regular people with aspirations to have families, you know, do good in their communities. So today we're going to bring up the other side. Guest speaker from MAD, Jonathan Berger. Please be very respectful. It's very hard for him to come up and speak before you guys, so thank you, Jonathan.
Good morning, everyone. As Officer Bradley said, my name is Jonathan. I'm here, represent Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They asked me to come here just to share my story. My only goal with you is to be honest, let you make your own decision. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you in advance for your attention. My story begins in 1987. I was born in San Jose, the youngest of four. I have two older sisters and an older brother. I was born to a tragically average American family. There was nothing special about us in any real way growing up. We didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't know that as kids. My mom made my sisters Easter dresses, and there were snacks on the counter when we got home from school. There was a lot of love in the house. We never had abuse, physical, no, we never saw our parents drink, do drugs, nothing like that. Just really, really average. One thing that was unique about me that I do remember from when I was about 4 years old is I wanted to work in the ER. And there was a reason for this. When I was 4, I wanted to change the world. Before I thought about money or prestige or things like that, I thought about changing the world. And knowing that there was nothing that special about me, I figured the way I could change the world is by a career of working in the ER, I could fill a big room. I actually had a vision of a room like this I could fill someday with people I had saved through my career, and I figured that one of those people could go on to better the world, and that would be my impact, that would be my positive footprint that I left. And so I held on to this dream strongly, so strongly in fact that I watched surgeries on TV. I got medical books for Christmas and my birthday. I actually wrote to Stanford College when I was 8 years old and told them to get ready for me, and I went down and I toured the medical school. And that's how seriously I took this dream of working in the ER. I was a real dork as a kid. I knew every bone in the body by 8 years old and things like that. And so I went about this and I held on to this dream. When I was 12, we moved from San Jose to El Dorado Hills. The property value went up a lot in San Jose. My parents wanted us in a nicer neighborhood, so we moved. Again, it was that average American family, just in a nicer neighborhood, nicer schools. Nothing really changed about us. Still had this dream of working in the ER, though. I remember it was my sophomore year of high school, and I just turned 16. There was a knock on the door about 10 o'clock at night, and the neighbors, these girls that I went to school with around the block, we had this feud going. 1 week, they would toilet paper my house, and the next week I would toilet paper theirs, and back and forth. So when I got this knock at the door, I expected to chase these girls down the street and whatever. So I was definitely shocked when I saw 3 cops standing there. It was actually 2 cops and a chaplain. I didn't know the difference at the time. And I thought that one of my siblings were in trouble. We weren't bad kids, but we were all teenagers, shenanigans. I didn't know, maybe one of them got in trouble. So the officers tell me to go upstairs, get my parents, and then they tell me to wait upstairs. And so I'm doing what the little brother does. I'm listening in the dark from the top of the stairs. They don't know I'm listening. And the officer tells my mom and my dad, he says, "This is the part of the job we don't like." He said, "Your son Adam was in a car accident today. I'm sorry he didn't make it." And I heard this loud thump on the ground. I didn't know what it was for a couple of minutes until I went downstairs and I saw my parents on the ground. They had actually collapsed, simultaneously. Their knees just gave out, and they fell. And I watched my father. I'd never seen him cry in my life. He's 6'5", the big, tall, stoic construction worker type. And I remember him walking around the house, mumbling to himself. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He was just crying. He had never lost anyone close to me, neither had I. And one thing about my brother is he was very well known, very well liked around the community. And so my parents wanted something good to come of his passing. So they got involved with the high school, and they actually had his truck put on display at my high school. So broken, bloodied, they towed it in. I'll tell you about my brother's accident really quick. There were no drugs or alcohol involved. He was driving around the block from his girlfriend's house when he lost steering. He was doing about 35, 40 miles an hour on a dry, straight road. And after he lost steering, he rolled his truck and bumped his head. And he was 6'7", so he bumped his head, he crawled out, and he died on scene a few minutes later with a nurse holding his hand and praying. It was an act of God. There was nothing that could have come. There was no way of avoiding it. as I see. It was just one of those things, unfortunately, that happens in life. It's just damn bad luck. But still wanting something good to come of it, bring the awareness to the students, to the community, that driving is just that dangerous. They brought his truck on display to my high school. So with my family, I stood out there in front of pictures of my brother, and we told stories, and students walked by and asked us questions, and we cried, and everybody knew about it. It was a really difficult time for the family as a whole. But one thing this did for me in subsequent years is it really renewed my passion for emergency medicine, so much that I became an EMT and a firefighter. I got a job at Sacramento's busiest emergency room and trauma center, and I would show up for 12-hour shifts and see hundreds of patients. I loved the trauma, the gunshots, stabbings, falls, motorcycle accidents, you name it. I thought that was great because I got to put my hands on people and have a positive impact. In a real sense, I got to see my hands at work doing good in the world, and I went home with that feeling that I was filling this room and I was changing the world for the better. And it was a really, really powerful feeling. I felt like I was making my lifelong dream come true, and I was. And I remember on the 4-year anniversary of my brother passing away, I went out with some of his friends. We went out in the country by El Dorado Hills. We drank a bunch of Coors Light. We were so far out, we did some donuts in our trucks, kicked up some dust, and we just kind of hung out, told stories about my brother, and reminisced. It was getting late, and so I went to a nearby friend's house to cool off. And before the sun came up, I remember I was thinking I wanted to go home. I wanted orange juice, aspirin, and to wake up in my own bed. That was all I was thinking about. So I got in my truck and I was driving in front of Folsom Prison, actually. Same road my brother passed away on. And I hit a deer. I was doing the speed limit, driving in my lane, and I clipped a deer doing 45 miles an hour. Because my mirror just fell off my truck and I saw a flash of something. That was all it was. And so I did the responsible thing. I called 911. I said, "Hi, my name's Jonathan. I just hit a deer and my phone died." So I plugged it back in. I turned it on. I called them back and they said, "Hi, are you the one that just called?" I said, "Yes." They said, "We already got a report of the accident. We know that there was a pedestrian hit. The truck left the scene and we're already looking for the white truck. So thank you. We don't have any questions at this time, but if we do, we'll contact you." And so what that dispatcher had told me is that it wasn't a deer I had hit. It was a pedestrian that was running. He was running in the bike lane, and I didn't see him. And they told me that I had left the scene and that they were looking for a white truck, and mine was green. So they had the wrong description. I don't know how. Someone had called it in mistakenly. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. And I started crying so hard I could hardly see through my tears to drive home. But that's what I did. I drove the mile or so home, and I sat in my room, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. I didn't know the condition of the man I had injured. I didn't know if he was alive or dead. I sat there, and I cried until the police came a little bit later to take a statement, and I just told them everything. They saw I was so upset. The officer said, "Do you have something to say?" And I just told them everything. I didn't have it in me to lie, not even if I had wanted to. I found out the man I injured was about 40 years old. He was running before work. He worked at Intel in Folsom, and he was running on that thin strip of black asphalt, not the gray sidewalk, not the gutter, but on that black strip where it's a little bit softer for runners' knees. He was a real jogger, so he liked that black strip in the road. And so when I was going by, I clipped him, and I broke his arm and leg on his left side. And he was picked up by my friends in Folsom Fire and taken to my coworkers in the emergency room. And the very room I showed up to each day to help save lives, I put a guy in and nearly killed him. I was arrested and taken to Folsom Jail. A few hours later, I was taken to Sacramento County Jail. I bailed out, and a couple days later, I went in for my arraignment, and they had raised my bail again, so I had to post a second bond, spend another day in jail, and with the help of my family, I was able to post the second bond to get out. I remember this being one of the scariest times in my life, and I fought it for 18 months. It wasn't in terms of innocent or guilt. It was terms of what would happen to me. And what we settled on was 5 years, 8 months at 85%. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I turned into Sacramento County on September 20th, 2011 with about 20 of my closest friends and family. And everyone stood in a circle. I was very nicely dressed, and everyone stood in a big circle around me, and they took their turn, giving me a few words of advice and a hug. And I swore to myself I wouldn't cry. For a long time, I told myself I wouldn't cry, and I didn't cry. Everyone else did, though. And I don't think I'd ever felt so awful in my life. The judge read me the sentence, the bailiff came and cuffed me, and I was led out of the courtroom, and I looked back, and I remember seeing my parents' eyes, and I remember that look in their face, and it wasn't all that different from the look they had seen. I had seen their faces when my brother was killed, and that broke my heart. I mean, in all the ways a heart can break, that's not one you really think about experiencing in life, is that kind of disappointment in your family's eyes. And so after 30 short days or long days, however you look at it, in county here in Sacramento, they transferred me to Tracy Prison. Tracy Prison is a reception center where everybody starts. Doesn't matter what you're there for, what you did, how long you're going to be there, or who you are, you go into the same place. And it's a gladiator school, to say the least. I remember my second day there, I was sitting in my cell, and I was in bed with my one blanket wrapped over me, and I was getting rained on because there was no windows in the cell. Someone had kicked him out, but there were still bars. And it was October, and there was a big storm, and it was freezing because the boiler was broken, so we had no hot water or heat. I had one blanket wrapped around me. I was too cold to stop shivering and too hungry to go to sleep, so I just sat there shivering in my cell for hours. And I heard a guy get his throat cut and scream for help outside my cell, and other people screamed for help, and I don't know if it was the guards that yelled back, just let him die, screw it. And I remember just hearing this and feeling incredibly helpless. Every bit of education I had gone through, every certification I possessed, thousands of hours and credentials, all with the desire to help people. And I felt so immensely helpless in that moment. I couldn't even help myself. I had nothing but time, and I had no idea how I was going to get through it. Every time that cell door opened, I prayed I would get back to it, and it would close behind me because I didn't know. After 90 days in Tracy, I went to Solano Prison, which is just in Vacaville. It's mainly a lifer prison, which is a good place to learn how to do time, I guess, from a bunch of people who've done a lot of time. And I was sitting there complaining one time to someone about the 5 years I had, and another guy, he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, 5 years? He said, kid, I've been here 35. I'll never see the other side of that wall. I don't want to hear about it. Keep that to yourself. And that really kind of put it in perspective. You know, thank God it wasn't forever. I met a guy in there named David from Sacramento. David was the DD for his best friend's birthday party. He drove his Durango with his friends in it, and he didn't have much to drink, but after an accident on the freeway, killed his best friend and injured a lot of other people. Dave was sent to prison. And I looked at his paperwork and I read it, and it said he only blew a 0.05 blood alcohol content. And that shocked me because I thought 0.08 was like the limit, right? You're below 0.08, you're good. You're above 0.08, you're drunk, you're going to jail, whatever. There's actually a law in California, and I'm sure those more learned on it than I will tell you, that it's called admin per se, and that any alcohol in your system could be constituted, it can be construed as impairment, and you could be criminally responsible for any accident, even if you're hit by somebody else. If you have alcohol in your system, it could be your fault. And so David was given 7 years for killing his best friend with a 0.05 blood alcohol. And that shocked me. Thank God I didn't have to live with this man's death on my conscience. So after less than a year in Solano, I got a transfer to Folsom. I wanted to be close to home. That was important for me to be close to home. So I got a transfer to Folsom Prison. For those of you who don't know, there's two Folsom prisons. There's Old and New. Old is the one where Johnny Cash sang, the castle-looking one, really old and archaic. And then the one just 100 feet away was built about 30 years ago. It's New Folsom, and it's a maximum security facility. So I went to Old Folsom, the medium security facility, and for about 20 months, I just kept my mouth shut and adopted a good, quiet program, and tried to stay free of any trouble. My family would come visit me every weekend, and that was a real blessing. Being less than a mile from where my brother passed, from where my crash was, it was really convenient to come visit. And after about 20 months there, it was discovered that a guard and I had mutual friends. And because of that relationship, we just happened to know one of the same persons. I was sent to the hole. So through no fault of my own, I found myself in administrative segregation, which is an innocuous way of saying solitary confinement, where they throw you in a cell by yourself and they forget about you. And I remember the only time I got out was for 3 weekly showers or a visit. And so the next weekend, my family came to visit me. And so to get out of my cell, I remember they came and they knocked on the door. They said, "You got a visit." So to get out, I would have to strip naked. I would put my white jumpsuit through the door. I would turn around, let them see me, and they would give me my jumpsuit back, and I would put it on with my flip-flops, and I'd put my hands through the door, and they would cuff them. The door would open, and I would take 2 steps back, and they would put leg irons on me one at a time, and then a waist chain, and then one officer would hold his baton out, yelling, "Segregated inmate clearing hallways," while the other one physically held me with his 2 hands and guided me down the hallway. And I was there for months. And so after I got shuffled through the prison, a few hundred yards like that, everyone looking at you like you're Hannibal Lecter or something, and I get led to a little 4x4 room, and the same process in reverse to get all the chains off. And I turn around and look at the scratched plexiglass, and it's my mom, my dad, and my grandma. And again, my dad's crying. It's that same look in his eye that I'd seen a couple of times before in my life of just real disappointment, like he's watching his son die before him and he can't do a thing about it. And I got to tell jokes about the heat or the food or the weird things you do to keep yourself sane when you're by yourself for that long. And they would share the one phone and put the hand against the glass, and I would make jokes, and I would leave those visits feeling immensely worse than when I went. After so many months in the hole, I fought it, and I was able to get a transfer out of the hole, but to a different institution. So because I wanted to stay close to home, I fought to go to Sacramento Prison next door, or New Folsom, and so I actually went to the maximum security facility next door, and I spent the last 16 months of my sentence at the maximum security facility at New Folsom Prison. So all I held on to was getting out, getting home, seeing my family, and the day after Thanksgiving 2015, I was paroled from New Folsom Prison, again to 20 friends and family, kind of the same thing and repeat. Everyone gave me a hug, and I went to IHOP. Everyone was like, "Why do you want to go to IHOP?" And I had built these pancakes up. I swear for years I dreamed about pancakes, and I don't know why, but pancakes I thought were the most delicious thing in the world. So we went to IHOP, and I sat down with everyone, and that was the most disappointing meal in my life. IHOP had not gotten any better, not after 4 years, 2 months, and 8 days in state prison. It had not gotten any better. So I don't recommend IHOP. But I remember sitting there amid all these people and feeling like a stranger in my own life, like I didn't even belong. And so it's been a lot of long, hard rebuilding. Through my poor choices, I was no longer able to recertify my EMT license. I was in school to be a nurse, and so I had to abandon that because with a felony, I do not think I'll be able to be a nurse, and so I've had to change careers entirely. That's been heartbreaking. This dream I had, thinking I could fill this room, save lives, was gone. I used to think saving lives, though, was responding to accidents, kind of like you saw on there, and pulling people out of accidents or treating them after they happened. What I hope to do here is stop an accident from happening in the first place. My hands are tied, but through you, hopefully through your good choices, better than mine, I can stop an accident from happening in the first place, maybe save some lives here. Honestly, my hope is that Mothers Against Drunk Driving stops existing because there are no more drunk drivers. It's a crime that doesn't have to happen. There's no reason why it has to happen. I mean, what happened to my brother was an act of God. It couldn't have been avoided. That was an accident. What happened to me was a series of poor choices. Some of the worst decisions in my life, but in that moment, they didn't look like the worst decisions in my life. It looked like a road 2 miles that I'd driven 1,000 times at 5 in the morning with nobody should have been on it. it looked like a glass of orange juice and aspirin and waking up comfortable in my own bed. That's all I thought about. I didn't think about my family. I didn't think about this man's family. And if there's anything I just share with you today, it's that, unfortunately, nobody is immune from taking somebody else or losing somebody close to them because of poor choices and drunk driving. And I just hope you guys all think about the effect you have on the world, your families, and the people around you, and that you think about having a positive effect, and you think about what those little choices can really do. Thank God I didn't kill somebody. Thank God I'm not spending the rest of my life in prison, but I'll tell you what, just an inch is all it was that saved his life and mine, and it's nothing short of a miracle. So I mean, as crazy it is, I'm grateful it's not worse. Anyway, thank you for your attention. Thank you for the respect you've shown me. I appreciate you a lot.
What a story. Does he look like a parolee? He's discharged from parole. Congratulations, right? But that could be any one of us in here if we make a poor choice. It happens that fast. A guy who wanted to serve his community ends up in state prison that fast. A deer turns into a body. I've seen it hundreds of times. I know I hit something, but I thought I just ran over something in the road. A rock in the road comes out to be some type of crash. Alcohol. If you don't start, you don't have to worry about stopping. That's always been my line. If you don't start, you don't have to worry about stopping. You know, take that with you when you leave out of here today, that each one of you students has that choice. This is not a video game. You don't get to press restart. You don't get to spawn back. You don't get a life health pack to re-energize your body. When your body gets destroyed, it gets destroyed. You may recover, what you call recovered from your injuries, but they're scars. There's always going to be a scar. There's going to be something to remind you, that pain that you feel, that you remember, oh man, I crashed 25 years ago, but that little pain still comes. As students, don't put your parents through the agony of having a chaplain come to your door. Don't put law enforcement in a position, or fire in a position, to have to come rescue you or your friends. Don't put the nurses through that terrible thing that they see, these mangled bodies. Like I said, this program's for you. We're going to transition to the next phase where we're going to have some students read their letters and some parents, and we're going to start with, if I can get this out of here. We're going to start with Miss Maya Moore.
Dear Mom and Kayla, every 15 minutes, someone in the United States dies or is seriously injured in an alcohol-related incident. Today I died. It breaks my heart that I will never feel the love of your warm hugs and kisses. We had so much planned, and it's all a blur now. Just yesterday, we were finalizing plans for my senior ball, and now there's no need to. We counted down the weeks to a graduation I won't be attending. My life ended instantly by someone's poor decisions. Kayla, I'm so sorry I won't be able to experience the joy of being a graduate with you. But please know, I am so admirable of your accomplishments. Mom, it's so hard to leave you so soon. Boy, would I give anything to see you smile one last time. It's hard to believe that I won't be experiencing the joy of going to college or planning a wedding, but this is where my story ends. A simple decision of not getting behind the wheel while under the influence could have saved my life. I love you so much, and I ask you to please don't be the one who drinks and drives. Love always, Maya Moore.
and Kobe Hallman.
Dear Mom, Dad, Kayla, Tyler, and Thomas, today I died. Just like that, I was gone. I never got to say goodbye or how much I loved you one last time. I just went on with life, and then it ended. I will never see Tyler and Thomas again, and I never got to tell them how much I loved them. I will never get to tell them how, even though they would bully me and make fun of me, how I looked up to them and how they were my role models. I will never get to tell Kayla how strong I thought she is and how proud I am of her. And I never will get to see her face again and annoy her one more time. Mom and Dad, I will never get to tell you how well I think you raised me and how I'm the person I am today because of you guys. Now all you have of me is a memory. All you have left of me are pictures. You will never hear my voice or my laugh or see my face. You won't be able to watch me play soccer or pole vault ever again. I know I'm gone, but don't waste your time mourning. Instead, celebrate my life. Look back on the times we had and laugh, don't cry. Live your life like I would want you to live it, like living it to the fullest, because life can be gone in a heartbeat.
And Marilette Henderson.
Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry for the constant pain that you will have now that I'm gone. I wish I could change what happened. I wish I didn't have to write this to you. I hope and pray you find closure, however that may be. I want you to know how much I love you both and everything you've given me. Granted, it hasn't been easy, and although I never wanted my life to end this soon, I'm overjoyed with the time I've had with you. I wouldn't trade any argument, lecture, or embrace we've had. I appreciate everything you've ever done for me. I know having a child is a commitment, and it was a commitment you had to take early, but I never not once felt your unconditional love. Regardless of the mistakes I've made, it's not my fault that I can't be here with you anymore, but that doesn't matter. I know that nothing will ever replace the void you'll have in your heart. I'm sorry that you won't ever see me walk across the stage, marry the love of my life, or have a child. I hope you truly feel how much I'll miss you. I'm sorry for all the times I've given you attitude or I was acting like a teenager, and I thank you for putting up with me even through my worst times. I'll miss all your meals, your laughter, and the feeling of your hugs. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have a mother like you. I love you infinity, and I'm sorry you won't hear that from me anymore.
And we had two teachers act as chaperones last night at the student retreat. And Mr. McCurdy has graciously also written a letter, and we'll have him come up and read his letter.
Dear Bryce, my beautiful wife, Madison and Macklin, my beautiful girls. I was driving home from Nate's house. Today I died. I was driving home from Nate's house, jamming to some Foo Fighters. As I crossed Watt Avenue on Jackson Road, another car struck my left quarter panel. My car flipped and had banged my head pretty hard. Then I was out. I don't remember much pain, so don't worry about that. Bryce, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I won't be there to be your husband. I won't be there to share your joy and your pain. I'll miss your smile and your spontaneous laugh when we'd watch movies. I won't get to hold your hand and walk with you on weekend mornings. And I will miss you so much. Madison, my dog, my big girl. I'm sorry I won't be at any more soccer or basketball games. I'm sorry we won't get to throw softball or football or go ride roller coasters together. I'm sorry we won't get to nerd out on Marvel movies. I will miss your goofy laugh and your random, insightful thoughts on the world. Macklin, my sweet tiny bear, I'm sorry I won't be your daddy. I'm sorry I won't be there to read books with you. I'm sorry I won't be able to coach your soccer team. I'm sorry I won't be able to see you grow into the amazing woman I'm sure you will be. I will miss you so much. I'll miss lifting you in the air and having you cackle, Daddy. I'll miss your made-up jokes and your little hand in mine as you drift off to sleep. I love you, Macklin. I love you, Madison. I love you, Bryce. I love you, and I will miss you. And I love you, Daddy.
You know, it takes a lot of courage to share your innermost thoughts with 1,200 people. So I thank the students and Mr. McCurdy for sharing their thoughts about how they love life and love their families. We're going to move. We also have 2 parent letters we're going to be read. And we're going to start with Mrs. Lassiter.
Dear Allie Maria, no, please tell me this is not happening. My little Allie. Our kids are never supposed to die before their parents. It's illogical and incomprehensible. It's not fair. Why? What did we do to deserve losing you so early? The pain in my heart is unbearable. It's a pain that will never go away. An emptiness that will never be filled. It feels like a piece of my heart is gone forever. Losing our little girl who still had so much ahead of her. She'll never get to go to her senior prom, graduate from high school, go to college to play soccer, get married, have a family. It's all gone in a moment's time. She'll never, ever get to live her life. It breaks my heart in a million pieces to think that we will never see your silly smile or hear your sassy teenage remarks. There will always be a permanent void in my life without you here. You brought so much joy and spice into our home. You were always trying to make us laugh or make light of things. Always making sure we knew how strong-minded, stubborn, and determined you were. Our house will be empty without the constant kicking of the soccer ball against the fireplace, the endless marathon Netflix episodes of The Office, your messes left in every room, and your bedroom that looked like a tornado hit it. I would give anything to have traded places with you. I should have been in that car, not you. Can somebody please wake me up and tell me I'm having a nightmare? I don't feel like I can take another step forward. The sadness is overwhelming, and it hurts me to the core. Pain is not something that I want to live with. I love you more than words can ever express. My life will never be the same without you. Rest peacefully, sweetie. I love you forever, Mom.
The second parent will be Mr. Foster.
Nicole, Nikki Boo, my sunshine. Being notified that you are not coming home is the worst news ever. My greatest nightmare has come true. When I was told, all I could think about was getting to you. I look forward to witnessing so many of your accomplishments. College road trip, getting your driver's license, senior year, senior ball gown, graduation, taking you to college, college graduation, presenting you to your husband, dancing with my daughter at the reception, hearing all the wonderful things you do. Seeing you each day made me so happy, witnessing that I was finally able to spend every day being a dad, having you go to school with friends from kindergarten, Amerilis, elementary school, Kylie, Udochi, Michelle, and have those friends with you in middle school and high school was truly amazing and a blessing. In your eyes, I was able to see what being in a two-parent home does for a child. I finally got it right. You are our baby and the gift from heaven that brought our family together, the one who received unconditional love from everyone. I see the child on, I lost my trace. Oh, I see the child on her toes, looking out the window when we moved into the only home you will ever know. Preschool graduation in the white cap and gown, watching you play soccer, not wanting to play on a muddy field, flying down the field to score a goal, performing during gymnastic meets, doing moves I could never imagine. When I questioned that you were doing too much and was concerned about your grades, you showing me a straight A report card saying, now what? As a teenager, Xavier was my dream, but when you were born, I gave you my heart, more like you took it. I failed in not protecting you, and I will have to deal with this pain the rest of my days. You will always be my sunshine. When the rain shine down on me, I will see your smile, that raised eyebrow, those eyes a gift from Miss Fanny, that dimple from Grandma. I always feel my Coley is with me. Love, Dad.
We're coming towards the end of the program. Just a couple more things to do. Like I said, once again, give everybody a round of applause for reading those letters. Before I get off the stage, I just want to thank everyone involved in this program, every student in here, for your attention, for your lives, and the lives that we hope to save by doing this program. It's for you. Everything we do here is for you. We as adults, We have made mistakes. So when your parents tell you something, they probably already made that mistake. Don't fall into that trap. Don't take it for granted what they say and walk out the door and say, they don't understand me. We've been there. We've done that. Or we know somebody who has. And we're trying to give you life lessons so that you can make it to our age and beyond and accomplish great things in life. That's what we're here for. So with some closing remarks, I'm going to bring up the principal, Maria Osborne. Then after Maria Osborne, we have one final step, so don't get up and leave, okay?
Her name was Kim. She had a blue Mustang, 1965, and I had a white Mustang, 1965. And in the Kmart parking lot, we would race. I grew up in a town about the size of Elk Grove, maybe when Elk Grove was 20 years ago. Kim and I had just gotten back from Daytona Beach with our friends Marcia and Margarita and Beth, and her dad's borrowed yellow Cadillac convertible that we begged to take and drive from Zanesville, Ohio to Daytona Beach. It was amazing. We had such a good time talking about, we had gotten into the colleges we wanted. Kim was going to University of Miami, Ohio. 3 weeks after spring break was senior prom. And so Kim didn't have a date and she was gonna go with me. Me and my date and his brother and his girlfriend, so 5 of us in a car. A week before prom, Kim got asked by Steve Randall to go. And she's like, should I go? I'm like, yeah. So quick dress shopping, we went, and she went with Steve. I still remember the yellow phone. For my 16th birthday, my parents bought me a round yellow phone. And it was in my bedroom. And it rang at about 6:30 on Sunday morning. I said, hello? She goes, Maria, this is Mrs. Robinson, my absolute favorite English teacher. I said, yeah. I said, what happened to Kim? I said, what do you mean what happened to Kim? She said, I heard she died. Hung up the phone really fast, and I had their house number all the time. We were good friends. I called the house, and her sister Beth answered the phone, and she said, Kim's gone. Kim's gone, Maria. 28 years ago. Steve had a blood alcohol content of 0.04. Came around a turn, hit a stone monument on the entrance to a community development. Somehow the door opened, Kim was ejected. Everybody else walked away. I remember talking to her parents, and they looked just like Mrs. Lassiter and Mr. Foster and these parents down here. Thank you so much. And I remember saying to myself, because I felt I was going to be in education, if I can bring group learning to never have to feel that again, then I've accomplished my goal. So your participation today and your honesty and sharing is a dream come true for me. But it's not about me. It's that so these parents and these teachers never have to get a phone call about you. Don't get in the car. Nobody else in that car was drinking. She wasn't. Don't get in the car. It takes too many. I sat with the students yesterday in a circle, and we all kind of sat around and talked. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think about Kim until I went home and I talked to my husband, and he pulled out the yearbook because he graduated the same year I did. And there's the poem I wrote for the yearbook for her, because I think I blocked it. So today I woke up and I remembered saying to her father, I will carry this. I will do this. So it was just meant to be. 2.5 years ago, when I got the position, I said to Mr. Mason, I want every 15 minutes. Because when I worked at Sheldon High School, I saw the impact that it had. It's taken 2.5 years. And I want to thank you for your commitment and your seriousness about this, because I tell you what, I was nervous that it wouldn't work, because you just never know. I can't thank you enough, professionals, for being here and for sharing and for participating. Today we'll have multiple people on campus to support you, and I know tragedy has touched many of our lives in many different ways, and it doesn't have to be about alcohol and driving. It's about losing someone you love. So I want to thank you so much, and if we could have a round of applause for parents who had to sit last night. So we have one more. Yeah. And anybody has any questions, just come ask.
Good morning. Would our Grim Reaper please stand? Death is no longer welcome in this place. This is Tad from CDCR. And officer, will you please uncuff our driver? You see, the performance is over, if you will. This performance has been planned and scheduled and prepared for months to bring this to you today and yesterday. Many hours given to give you the idea of what if. Although this has been a 2-day performance, the emotions that you have felt and the tears that you have experienced today are very, very real. There's a powerful thing that happens when your head and your heart connect. To embrace the fact that one of your friends, one of your family members could actually be killed is powerful. You see, law enforcement can enforce the laws, and oh, do they ever. Legislators can put forth bills to have fees to make DUIs so expensive, and they do, and it is. But in order for the grave statistics to change, behaviors have to change. And behaviors change when our heart is impacted so much that demands change for our communities and for our youth. And it's programs like this that bring to you guys the idea of what is this gonna cost me? You see, as professionals, we are here and committed to you guys to encourage you to think it through. What does this cost? What is this going to cost me? That is what we have done for you here today. We have empowered you with wisdom and tools, given you an opportunity to make a change in your own sphere of influence, your own families. By a raise of hands, how many in here have been impacted by someone you know by a DUI? The statistics say that we have 1,200 students in this assembly today. Last year, that means we would have had 8 high schools like this wiped out because of drunk driving, impaired driving. It is a completely preventable crime. And we believe with the right tools and education, you guys can change the statistics. And we believe you can start today. Before we conclude, I would love to introduce to you some very important people. We would wish to thank our parents for signing up and participating in this program. Yesterday, they received a mock death notification with a chaplain and a law enforcement officer. They were handed an obituary of your son or your daughter. And although you signed up for this program, you knew it was coming. You couldn't control the emotions. Each of our chaplain and officer teams witnessed that. And then they went and wrote the letter, some of what you were able to hear today. As parents, you have the unique opportunity to demonstrate your love for your children and to continue to communicate your desire for them to make good decisions and confront the pressures of life. Students, you probably cannot even imagine how devastating your families would be just with the impact of your death, or how one of your deaths touches so many people. The overwhelming sorrow and heartache that your death would bring your family and your friends and your classmates and your teachers and these emergency personnel here today goes far beyond what you can comprehend. But that's the hope of this program, that you will begin to imagine the significance of your decisions upon not only yourself, but also those who you impact and those who are represented here today. All of the professionals here today give their time to the Every 15-Minute program because they see firsthand the devastating results. They see the devastating results of teenagers who have been killed as a result to drink and drive. We want so desperately for the senseless and preventable deaths and injuries to stop. And we are all here today to make it a point to you that we care about you. We want you to fulfill all your dreams for the future. We want you to passionately and joyfully embrace your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness, but tempered with wisdom and good judgment. At this time, I would like to do roll call. When I mention your profession, please stand. You see, these will be the ones who you impact. It will start with a stranger who doesn't even know you, who will witness a senseless vehicle collision that calls the 911 dispatcher, the one who sends the heroes. The firefighters, paramedics, ambulance crews rescued by our champions. The highway patrolmen, sheriff deputies, or police officers serving justice for victims and survivors, our warriors for the innocent. The hospital emergency department, doctors, nurses, technicians, mending the brokenness. The coroner, the pathologists, dealing with the facts of the death event. The chaplains or clergy from your church, who will contact and try to console your family, caring and comforting in spirit. The victim advocates, district attorneys, judges offering hope and helps. Guys, your decisions affect so many people. If you are a relative of one of the living dead here, please stand. Guys, if you know one of the living dead, please stand. Look around you. Your decisions affect many people, and as you can plainly see, the loss of just these 11 students and faculty touches so many hundreds of people. The terrible reality is your death would be so tragic because your death in an alcohol-related traffic crash is mostly preventable. Your life is precious to all of us. Parents, students, you may stand. Would you come now and embrace your child? Welcome them back into your homes. And Consumnes Oaks, please make good choices and don't drink and drive. Thank you. You are dismissed.
You are returning to second period. Second period.